The unexpected envoy. Dr. Evelyn Zhao stood at the window of her modest apartment, gazing out at the bustling cityscape of New Shanghai. At 78, her once jet-black hair had long since turned silver, and wrinkles etched a roadmap of experiences across her face. But her eyes, dark and keen, still sparkled with the same intelligence and curiosity that had driven her through decades of interstellar diplomacy. A chime from her communication panel broke the silence. "Dr. Zhao, you have an urgent message from the United Earth government," announced her eye assistant. Evelyn's eyebrows furrowed. She had retired from her position as Earth's lead Sino-diplomat 5 years ago. What could be so urgent that they'd contact her now? "Display message," she commanded, settling into her favorite chair. A holographic screen materialized before her, revealing the stern face of Admiral Helena Vasquez, current head of Earth's Interstellar Relations Department. "Dr. Zhao, I apologize for disturbing your retirement, but we face a crisis that requires your unique expertise," Admiral Vasquez began without preamble. 3 days ago, we received a transmission from the Galactic Confederation. They've called an emergency session of the Senate to discuss the human problem. Evelyn felt a chill run down her spine. In the 30 years since humanity had made first contact, they had worked tirelessly to prove themselves worthy of joining the galactic community. But progress had been slow, hindered by fear and mistrust on both sides. "What exactly do they mean by the human problem?" Evelyn asked, leaning forward. Admiral Vasquez's hologram flickered slightly. "We're not entirely sure, but our intelligence suggests that several influential species are pushing for Earth to be placed under a quarantine embargo. They claim we're too unpredictable, too dangerous to be allowed free rein in the galaxy." Evelyn's mind raced. A quarantine embargo would be disastrous for Earth. It would cut off all interstellar trade, halt technological exchange, and effectively end humanity's dreams of becoming a true spacefaring civilization. "I understand the gravity of the situation, Admiral," Evelyn said, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her thoughts. "But why contact me? Surely there are younger, more current diplomats who could handle this." Admiral Vasquez shook her head. "The Confederation has specifically requested your presence, Dr. Zhao. You're the only human who's ever managed to broker a multi-species peace treaty. They respect you, even if they fear the rest of us." Evelyn closed her eyes, memories flooding back. The Orion Accords, 3 years of grueling negotiations, countless sleepless nights, and one moment of inspiration that had prevented an interstellar war. It had been her crowning achievement, but also the reason she'd retired. The stress had nearly killed her. "Helena," Evelyn said softly, using the Admiral's first name, a reminder of their long history together. "I'm not the same woman I was back then. My health—" "I know, Evelyn," Admiral Vasquez interrupted, her stern demeanor cracking slightly. "But you're our best hope. The future of our species might well depend on what happens in that Senate chamber. We need you. One last time." Evelyn stood, walking back to the window. The city below hummed with life, millions of people going about their daily routines, blissfully unaware of the cosmic sword hanging over their heads. She thought of her grandchildren, of the future they deserved among the stars. "When do we leave?" Evelyn asked, her decision made. Relief washed over Admiral Vasquez's face. "A ship will arrive to pick you up in 6 hours. It's the fastest vessel in our fleet, but even so, the journey to the galactic core will take nearly 2 weeks." Evelyn nodded. 2 weeks to prepare for the most important speech of her life, and possibly the most important in human history. "I'll be ready," she said. As the hologram winked out, Evelyn began mental preparations for the journey ahead. She would need to brush up on the latest galactic politics, review dossiers on the key players in the Senate, and somehow find a way to convey humanity's potential in a way that would overcome centuries of alien mistrust. But first, she had a few calls to make. She owed her family an explanation for why their grandmother was about to embark on a potentially one-way trip to the stars. Hours later, as the sleek diplomatic vessel broke through Earth's atmosphere, Evelyn watched her homeworld shrink to a blue marble, then to a tiny speck, and finally disappear altogether. She felt the weight of her responsibility settle onto her shoulders like a physical thing. "Quite a view, isn't it?" a voice said from behind her. Evelyn turned to see a young man, probably in his early 30s, with close-cropped hair and an eager expression. He wore the uniform of the diplomatic corps, with the insignia of a junior attaché. "Indeed it is," Evelyn replied. "And you are?" The young man snapped to attention. "Marcus Chen, ma'am. I've been assigned as your aide for this mission. It's an honor to work with you, Dr. Zhao. Your lectures on xenopsychology were what inspired me to join the course." Evelyn smiled, both pleased and a little embarrassed by the young man's enthusiasm. "Well, Marcus, I hope you're ready for a crash course in high-stakes diplomacy. We have 2 weeks to prepare for a speech that could determine the fate of our entire species." Marcus nodded, his expression turning serious. "I'm ready, Dr. Zhao. Where do we start?" "First," Evelyn said, settling into a comfortable chair in the ship's conference room, "give me a rundown of the current political landscape in the Confederation. Who are our allies? Who are our biggest opponents?" As Marcus began his briefing, Evelyn felt a familiar spark ignite within her. The thrill of the diplomatic game, the challenge of navigating alien cultures and mindsets. She had missed this more than she cared to admit. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of strategy sessions, cultural briefings, and speech drafts. Evelyn worked tirelessly, pushing herself to the limit of her endurance. Marcus proved to be an invaluable assistant, his youthful energy and quick mind complementing Evelyn's experience and insight. As they approached the massive space station that served as the seat of the Galactic Confederation, Evelyn stood once again at the viewport, this time flanked by Marcus and Admiral Vasquez, who had joined them for the final leg of the journey. The station was a marvel of engineering. A massive wheel-shaped structure, large enough to house representatives from over 1,000 species. As their ship docked, Evelyn felt a mixture of awe and trepidation. "Are you ready?" Admiral Vasquez asked softly. Evelyn took a deep breath, straightening her formal robes. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied. "Let's go make history." As the airlock cycled open, Evelyn stepped forward to face whatever challenges awaited her in the grand halls of the Galactic Senate. The fate of humanity rested on her shoulders, and she was determined not to let her species down. Little did she know that her words would not only change the course of human history, but shake the very foundations of the galaxy itself. Journey to the stars. The diplomatic vessel glided through the vast expanse of space, its sleek hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Inside, Dr. Evelyn Zhao sat in her private quarters, surrounded by holographic displays showing a dizzying array of alien faces, cultural notes, and political analyses. "Dr. Zhao." Marcus Chen's voice came through the intercom. "We're approaching the Zeta Reticuli checkpoint. The Confederation officials will be boarding for inspection in about 30 minutes. Evelyn sighed, rubbing her temples. "Thank you, Marcus. I'll be ready." As she stood, joints protesting slightly, Evelyn caught her reflection in the viewport. The woman staring back at her looked tired, the weight of her mission evident in the set of her shoulders and the tightness around her eyes. But there was a fire there too, a determination that belied her years. The ship shuddered slightly as it decelerated, and Evelyn made her way to the main conference room. Admiral Vasquez and Marcus were already there, along with the ship's captain, a grizzled veteran named Yuki Tanaka. "Here's what we know about the inspection team," Marcus said, pulling up a holographic display. "They're reticulans, known for their adherence to bureaucratic procedure and their distrust of emotionally volatile species." Evelyn nodded. She'd dealt with reticulans before. They were a challenge, certainly, but not insurmountable. "Remember," she said to the group, "no sudden movements. Keep your voice modulated, and for heaven's sake, don't smile with your teeth showing. They find it aggressive." As if on cue, a chime announced the arrival of the Reticulan delegation. The airlock cycled open, revealing 3 tall, slender beings with large almond-shaped eyes and grayish skin. Their movements were precise, almost robotic. "Greetings, representatives of Earth," the lead Reticulan said, its voice a monotone buzz. "We are here to verify your clearance and ensure compliance with Confederation travel protocols." What followed was 3 hours of meticulous document checking, scanning, and questioning. Evelyn answered each query calmly and precisely, her decades of diplomatic experience serving her well. Even so, she could feel the underlying tension, the unspoken suspicion directed at the human delegation. Finally, the lead Reticulan turned to Evelyn. "Your documentation is in order, Dr. Zhao. However, we must inform you that your species status is currently under review by the Senate. Your rights and privileges upon arrival at the Galactic Core may be limited." Tensions in the Senate. The artificial dawn of the space station bathed Dr. Evelyn Zhao's quarters in a soft, golden light. She stood before a mirror, adjusting the formal robes that marked her as Earth's. A chime at her door announced the arrival of Marcus Chen. The young diplomat's eyes widened as he saw her. "Dr. Zhao, you look formidable." Evelyn allowed herself a small smile. "Let's hope the Senate thinks so too. Are we ready?" Marcus nodded, his expression turning serious. "As ready as we'll ever be. The pre-session meet and greet starts in 30 minutes. Admiral Vasquez is already there, trying to gauge representative." The shimmer fabric, designed to be pleasing to a wide range of alien visual spectrums, rippled with subtle iridescence as she moved the political climate. As they made their way through the sweeping corridors of the station, Evelyn marveled at the diversity of life around her. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions hurried past, some bipedal, others with multiple limbs or no limbs at all. The air was filled with a cacophony of languages, only some of which her universal translator could decipher. They arrived at a vast atrium, its high ceiling a dome of transparent material that offered a breathtaking view of the galactic core. The room was already bustling with activity, filled with delegates from hundreds of worlds. Admiral Vasquez appeared at Evelyn's elbow, her face tight with tension. "It's not good," she murmured. "The anti-human sentiment is stronger than we anticipated. The Jorax Imperium is leading the charge for our quarantine." Evelyn's heart sank. The Jorax were a warrior species, highly influential in the Senate due to their military might. Winning them over would be crucial and exceptionally difficult. "Dr. Zhao," a resonant voice called out. Evelyn turned to see a towering insectoid being approaching. Its chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the atrium lights, and its compound eyes fixed on her with unnerving intensity. "Ambassador Skittle," Evelyn said, inclining her head in the formal greeting of the Arthan species. "It's been many years." The Arthan ambassador's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Indeed it has, Doctor. I was pleased to hear you would be representing Earth today. Your speech at the Orion Accords was memorable." Before Evelyn could respond, a commotion near the center of the room drew their attention. A group of Jorax delegates, their scaled skin a riot of aggressive reds and oranges, were confronting a smaller amphibious species. "The Miracae have no place in these proceedings," the lead Jorax snarled, looming over the cowering amphibians. "Your world is nothing but a backwater, useful only for the resources we can extract from it." Evelyn felt a surge of anger. The Miracae were a peaceful species, known for their art and philosophy rather than military might. Without thinking, she stepped forward. "Gentlemen," she said, her voice carrying across the suddenly hushed room. "Surely there are more productive ways to spend our time than bullying those you perceive as weak." The lead Jorax turned, his reptilian eyes narrowing as he saw Evelyn. "Ah, the human representative," he sneered. "Come to play peacemaker again. Your meddling is unwelcome here, as is your presence in this galaxy." Evelyn stood her ground, meeting the Jorax's gaze steadily, And yet, here we are, invited by the Senate itself. Perhaps they see value in diversity of thought and experience, something your people might learn from. A tense silence fell over the atrium. The Jorax delegate's scales flushed a deeper red, and for a moment, Evelyn thought he might actually attack her. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You have spirit, human," he said. "It will be amusing to watch the Senate crush it." With that, he and his entourage stalked away. As the crowd began to disperse, murmuring excitedly, Ambassador Skittle turned to Evelyn. "An impressive display, Dr. Zhao. But I fear you may have made a powerful enemy." Evelyn nodded, her heart rate slowly returning to normal. "Sometimes, Ambassador, we must stand up for what's right, regardless of the consequences." As they moved through the atrium, Evelyn and her team engaged in a flurry of quick conversations and political maneuvers. They sought out potential allies, tried to sway neutral parties, and gathered intelligence on the opposing factions. Marcus proved invaluable, his youth and earnestness disarming many of the more skeptical delegates. Admiral Vasquez, meanwhile, engaged in tense discussions with military representatives from various species, emphasizing Earth's potential as a strategic partner rather than a threat. As the time for the Senate session approached, Evelyn found herself in a quiet corner, reviewing her notes one last time. The enormity of the task ahead weighed heavily upon her. The future of humanity hung in the balance, and she was all that stood between her species and potential galactic isolation. A soft trill caught her attention. She looked up to see one of the Mira K delegates approaching, its large, liquid eyes regarding her with what seemed like gratitude. "Thank you," the Mira K said, its voice melodious even through the translator, "for standing up to the Jorax. Few have the courage to do so." Evelyn smiled gently. It was the right thing to do. No species should be bullied or excluded simply because they lack military might. The Mira K's skin rippled in what Evelyn recognized as their equivalent of a smile. "You speak wisely, Dr. Zhao. Know that the Mira K delegation will support Earth's bid for full Confederation membership. Your actions today have shown us the true heart of humanity." As the Mira K glided away, Evelyn felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps not all was lost. If she could sway more delegates like this, there might be a chance after all. A chime resonated through the atrium, signaling the imminent start of the Senate session. Delegates began to file towards the grand doors of the Senate chamber. Marcus appeared at Evelyn's side, his face a mix of excitement and nerves. "It's time, Dr. Zhao. Are you ready?" Evelyn took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the pen, that symbol of Earth and all she was fighting for, in her pocket. "As ready as I'll ever be, Marcus. Let's go make history." They joined the throng of delegates entering the Senate chamber. The room was vast, its tiered seating arranged in a perfect circle. At the center was a raised platform, the speaker's dais where Evelyn would soon stand and argue for humanity's future. As they took their seats, a hush fell over the assembled delegates. The Senate speaker, a being of pure energy contained within a translucent shell, floated to the center of the chamber. "Esteemed delegates," the speaker's voice resonated, bypassing the need for translators and speaking directly to the minds of all present. "We are gathered here today to address a matter of grave importance, the status of the species known as humanity within our galactic confederation." Evelyn sat straight, her eyes focused on the speaker. This was it. Everything she had worked for, everything she had prepared for, came down to this moment. The speaker continued, "We will hear arguments from various factions, culminating in an address from the human representative, Dr. Evelyn Zhao. Following these presentations, the Senate will vote on humanity's future status within the Confederation." As the first speakers began to make their cases, some for humanity's inclusion, many more for their quarantine or even expulsion, Evelyn closed her eyes briefly, centering herself. In her mind, she saw Earth, its blue oceans, green forests, and sprawling cities. She thought of all the people back home, going about their lives, unaware that their fate was being decided light years away. She thought of humanity's potential, their drive to explore, to understand, to grow. Opening her eyes, Evelyn felt a calm determination settle over her. Whatever happened next, she would give everything she had to ensure humanity's place among the stars. As the arguments raged on around her, Dr. Evelyn Zhao prepared herself for the speech of a lifetime, a speech that would determine the future of her entire species. The speech that shook the stars. The Galactic Senate chamber hummed with tension as Dr. Evelyn Zhao approached the central dais. The eyes of 1,000 alien species were upon her, some curious, others hostile, all waiting to hear what this elderly human had to say that could possibly change their minds about humanity's fate. As Evelyn took her place at the podium, she felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. She glanced briefly at Marcus and Admiral Vasquez, seated in the Earth delegation's booth. They nodded encouragingly, their faces a mix of hope and apprehension. The Senate speaker's ethereal form hovered nearby. Dr. Evelyn Zhao of Earth, you may now present your case to the Senate. Be advised that at the conclusion of your speech, the Senate will vote on the proposed quarantine of your species. You have the floor. Evelyn took a deep breath, her hand unconsciously touching the pen in her pocket, that small piece of earth that grounded her. She began to speak, her voice clear and strong despite her years. Esteemed members of the Galactic Senate, I stand before you today not just as a representative of Earth, but as a voice for a species at a crossroads. Humanity's journey to the stars has been fraught with challenges, misunderstandings, and yes, mistakes. But it has also been a journey of wonder, discovery, and untapped potential. She paused, her gaze sweeping across the chamber. I have heard the arguments for our quarantine, that we are too unpredictable, too aggressive, too young a species to be trusted with the power that comes with full membership in this confederation. And to some degree, I cannot deny these charges. We are young. We are unpredictable. And yes, we have a capacity for aggression that has, at times, led us down dark paths. A murmur ran through the chamber. Evelyn could see the Jorax delegation nodding smugly, certain that she was conceding defeat, but she was far from finished. But I ask you all to consider this. Are these traits not also the source of our greatest strengths? Our unpredictability leads to innovation, to solutions that more established species might never consider. Our youth gives us a hunger to learn, to grow, to become better than we are. And yes, even our capacity for aggression, when properly channeled, drives us to passionately defend not just ourselves, but those we consider friends and allies. Evelyn's voice grew stronger, more impassioned. Look at your own histories. Were your species so different when they first reached for the stars? Did you not also stumble, make mistakes, sometimes grievous ones, on your path to enlightenment? Humanity does not ask for special treatment. We ask only for the chance to prove ourselves, to learn and grow alongside you all. She turned, gesturing to the vast star field visible through the chamber's transparent dome. The galaxy is vast, filled with wonders and dangers beyond our imagining. But it is also a place of incredible diversity, where myriad species have found ways to coexist and thrive together. Humanity wishes to be part of that tapestry, to add our unique thread to the cosmic weave. Evelyn could sense the mood in the chamber shifting. Some delegates leaned forward, clearly engaged. Others whispered among themselves, reconsidering their positions. But the Jorax delegation remained stone-faced, their scales a deep, angry red. I know some of you fear us, Evelyn continued, her voice softening. You look at our history of conflict, our rapid technological advancement, and you see a potential threat. But I ask you to look deeper. Look at the art we create, the music that moves us to tears, the literature that explores the depths of our souls. Look at how, time and time again, we have pulled back from the brink of self-destruction, choosing unity over division, love over hate. She paused, letting her words sink in. And yes, look at our flaws too. We are not perfect. We have much to learn. But is that not true of all sentient beings? Is the path to wisdom not paved with lessons learned from mistakes? Evelyn's voice took on a note of urgency. The decision you make today will have repercussions that echo across the stars. A vote for quarantine is not just a rejection of humanity. It is a statement that fear should guide our actions rather than hope. It says that the Galactic Confederation is not strong enough to nurture a young species, to help guide them towards a brighter future. She straightened, her eyes blazing with intensity. But I believe in the strength of this confederation. I believe in the wisdom gathered in this chamber. And most of all, I believe in the power of diverse species coming together, sharing their strengths, and helping each other overcome their weaknesses. Evelyn's voice rose to a crescendo. Esteemed senators, I ask you today not just to vote against our quarantine, but to embrace humanity as full members of this confederation. Give us the chance to surprise you, to contribute in ways you may not yet imagine. Let us stand alongside you as we face the challenges of the cosmos together. She took a deep breath, her final words ringing out clear and strong. For in the end, we are all children of the stars, and it is only together that we can truly reach our full potential. Thank you. As Evelyn finished, a profound silence fell over the Senate chamber. For a moment, it seemed as if the entire galaxy held its breath. Then suddenly, a sound began to build. It started low, a rumble that grew into a roar. Applause, or its equivalent from species without hands, thundered through the chamber. Delegates were on their feet, those who had feet, gesticulating excitedly. Even some of the Jorax looked thoughtful, their scales shifting to more contemplative hues. The Miraque delegation was practically glowing with approval, their skin shimmering with patterns of light. As Evelyn made her way back to the Earth delegation's booth, she felt lightheaded. Had she done enough? Would her words sway the Senate's vote? Marcus embraced her as she reached them, his eyes shining with unused tears. That was incredible, Dr. Zhao. You've given us a fighting chance. Admiral Vasquez nodded, her usual stoic demeanor cracking to reveal a smile. Well done, Evelyn. Whatever happens next, know that you've made Earth proud. The Senate Speaker called for order, its energy form pulsing with an intensity Evelyn hadn't seen before. We will now proceed to the vote. Delegates, please register your decision. The chamber fell silent once more as delegates activated their voting interfaces. Evelyn watched the holographic display at the center of the room, where two bars began to grow. One representing votes for quarantine, the other for acceptance. The bars climbed higher and higher, sometimes one pulling ahead, sometimes the other. Evelyn's heart raced as she watched the future of humanity unfold before her eyes. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the voting concluded. The Senate Speaker moved to the center of the chamber, its form glowing brightly. The Senate has reached a decision, it announced, its voice resonating through the minds of all present. By a margin of. The Speaker paused, and Evelyn felt as if her heart might burst from the suspense. 3 votes. The motion to quarantine humanity has been rejected. Furthermore, the Senate has voted to grant Earth provisional membership in the Galactic Confederation, with a probationary period of 1 standard galactic year. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of sound. Delegates were shouting, cheering, arguing. The Miraque representatives were performing what looked like an impromptu dance of joy. Even the Jorax, while clearly displeased, seemed to be accepting the decision with grudging respect. Evelyn felt her knees go weak. Marcus and Admiral Vasquez caught her, supporting her as the realization of what had just happened washed over them all. "We did it," Evelyn whispered, tears streaming down her face. "We actually did it." As congratulations poured in from various delegations, Evelyn knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had been given a chance to prove itself, to grow, to become part of something greater than they had ever imagined. The journey ahead would be challenging, filled with diplomatic hurdles and cultural misunderstandings. But as Dr. Evelyn Zhao looked out at the sea of alien faces, some smiling, some scowling, all now connected to humanity's fate. She felt a surge of hope. The stars, it seemed, were no longer out of reach. Humanity had taken its first true step into the galactic community, and the universe would never be the same. Ripples across the galaxy. The weeks following the historic Senate vote were a whirlwind of activity. Dr. Evelyn Zhao found herself at the center of a diplomatic storm, navigating the complex waters of interstellar politics with a grace that belied her years. As she sat in her temporary office on the space station, surrounded by a dizzying array of alien artifacts and congratulatory messages, Evelyn couldn't help but marvel at how quickly things had changed. Just a month ago, she had been a retired diplomat, content to watch the world go by from her apartment in New Shanghai. Now she was the face of humanity to the galaxy at large. A chime at her door interrupted her musings. "Come in," she called. Marcus entered, looking both excited and exhausted. "Dr. Zhao, you won't believe the latest reports from Earth. The public response to our new status in the Confederation has been, well, explosive." Evelyn raised an eyebrow. "Explosive in a good way, I hope." Marcus nodded enthusiastically. "Absolutely. There are celebrations in every major city. Scientists are clamoring for the chance to collaborate with alien researchers. Artists are creating works inspired by our new galactic neighbors. It's like a cultural renaissance." Evelyn smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. This was what she had hoped for, humanity embracing its new role in the galaxy with open arms and minds. "And what about the skeptics?" she asked. "Surely not everyone is thrilled about our new situation." Marcus's expression sobered slightly. "There are some, yes. Isolationist groups, people afraid of change. But they're in the minority. Most people see this as an incredible opportunity." Their conversation was interrupted by another chime, this time from Evelyn's communication panel. Admiral Vasquez's hologram appeared, her expression uncharacteristically excited. "Evelyn, Marcus, you need to see this," she said without preamble. "We've just received a transmission from the Arcturus system. It seems your speech didn't just change minds in the Senate." With a wave of her hand, the Admiral brought up a new hologram. It showed a massive spaceship, unlike anything Evelyn had ever seen. Its design was clearly alien, but it bore markings that looked strikingly human. "What am I looking at, Helena?" Evelyn asked, leaning forward to study the image. "That," Admiral Vasquez said, her voice filled with wonder, "is a ship from a lost human colony, one we never knew existed." Evelyn and Marcus exchanged shocked glances. "A lost colony," Marcus breathed. "How is that possible?" Admiral Vasquez explained, her words tumbling out in an excited rush. According to their message, they're descendants of an early experimental FTL flight that went wrong. Their ship crash-landed on a planet in the Arcturus system over 200 years ago. They've been rebuilding, advancing their technology with the help of some local alien species who took pity on them. They've been watching us, waiting for the right moment to make contact. Evelyn felt her head spin with the implications, and my speech was broadcast across the galaxy. The Admiral finished. "They saw it, Evelyn. Your words convinced them that humanity was ready to reunite with its lost children." As the news sank in, Evelyn realized that the ripples from her speech were spreading far beyond anything she could have imagined. Humanity wasn't just joining the galactic community, it was discovering new facets of itself. Over the next few months, more revelations followed. The Arcturus colony was just the beginning. Other lost human outposts began to make contact, each with its own unique story of survival and adaptation. Some had developed technologies that surpassed Earth's in specific areas, while others had formed deep bonds with alien species unknown to the wider Confederation. On Earth, these discoveries sparked a new age of exploration and innovation. The influx of new ideas and technologies from both the lost colonies and alien allies led to breakthroughs in medicine, energy production, and space travel. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. The integration of Earth and its lost colonies into the Galactic Confederation brought challenges as well as opportunities. Cultural clashes, economic disputes, and the occasional diplomatic faux pas kept Evelyn and her team busy. The Jorax, while grudgingly accepting humanity's presence, remained a constant thorn in their side. Their attempts to undermine Earth's position in the Confederation were subtle but persistent. Yet, for every move they made, Evelyn found unexpected allies stepping up to support humanity. 6 months after her historic speech, Evelyn found herself once again standing before the Galactic Senate. This time, she was there to present humanity's progress report, a requirement of their probationary status. As she looked out at the assembled delegates, Evelyn felt a sense of déjà vu. But this time, instead of apprehension, she felt pride and determination. "Esteemed members of the Senate," she began, her voice strong and clear. "6 months ago, I stood before you and asked for a chance for humanity to prove its worth, to show that we could be valuable members of this confederation. Today, I am here to show you the results of that chance." She gestured, and holographic displays sprang to life around the chamber, showing images of human-alien cooperation, technological advancements, and cultural exchanges. "We have faced challenges, made mistakes, and learned hard lessons," Evelyn continued. "But we have also forged new friendships, pushed the boundaries of science, and begun to truly understand our place in this vast, incredible galaxy." As she spoke, Evelyn could see the change in the delegates' expressions. The skepticism of 6 months ago had been replaced by interest, respect, and in many cases, genuine warmth. "Humanity's journey among the stars is just beginning," she concluded. "We have much still to learn, much to offer, and much to discover. But we face the future not with fear or arrogance, but with hope, curiosity, and a deep commitment to being worthy members of this confederation. Thank you." The applause that followed was deafening. Even the Jorax delegation, while not exactly cheering, seemed to be nodding in grudging acknowledgement. As Evelyn made her way back to her seat, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The ripples from her speech 6 months ago had grown into waves, reshaping the galactic landscape in ways no one could have predicted. Marcus met her at the Earth delegation's booth, his face beaming with pride. "Dr. Zhao, that was incredible. I think you've done it again." Evelyn smiled, feeling the weight of her years, but also the excitement of new beginnings. "We've done it, Marcus. All of us. And this is just the start." As the Senate session concluded, Evelyn found herself surrounded by well-wishers from various species. The Mirakai ambassador approached, its skin shimmering with patterns that Evelyn now recognized as joy and respect. "Dr. Zhao," the Mirakai said, its melodious voice filled with warmth. "Your species continues to surprise and inspire us. We look forward to the day, surely not far off, when humanity takes its permanent place in the Confederation." Evelyn inclined her head in gratitude. "Thank you, Ambassador. We still have much to prove, but with friends like you, I believe we will succeed." As she prepared to leave the Senate chamber, Evelyn's gaze was drawn to the vast star field visible through the dome. Somewhere out there, Earth was spinning, its people going about their lives, now irrevocably changed by their new place in the cosmic order. And beyond, scattered among the stars, were humanity's lost children, newly reunited with their ancestral home. The galaxy, Evelyn realized, would never be the same, and neither would humanity. They had taken their first steps into a larger universe, full of challenges and wonders beyond imagining. The road ahead would not be easy, but Evelyn knew in her heart that humanity was ready for whatever the cosmos might throw at them. As she turned to join her team, ready to face the next challenge, Dr. Evelyn Zhao allowed herself a moment of pure, unrestrained joy. The stars were no longer distant points of light. They were beacons, calling humanity home to a galaxy full of possibilities. The adventure, it seemed, was just beginning.